Good morning, Bruins. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Andrew Bottom, and I'm your Associate Director for the Global Internship Program here at UCLA. And I'm very excited to speak with you more today about our GIP program in Prague, Czech Republic. I'm joined here by a few colleagues I'd like to introduce here real quickly. Our on-site partners are known as the European Center for Career Education. So I'd like to have one of my colleagues, Jana, introduce herself.
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be joining this session. Andrew, thank you for having me.
And Jana will talk more specifically about the experience in Prague later in the presentation. And then we also have a very special guest, one of our returnees, Sahar. If you want to introduce yourself and maybe your major and where you interned this past summer.
Hi guys, I'm Sahar. I'm a fourth year econ major, and I interned at Vera Science this past summer in Prague, where I was a marketing intern.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sahar. And so Sahar will talk a little bit more about her experience later on in the presentation, and then we'll have a Q&A at the very end. If you have any questions, we're all available to answer those for you. So today we're going to start by discussing the program as a whole, give you an overview, the eligibility. We'll move on to covering the process for placement and this timeline up to departure. Then our ECC EDU colleagues will be discussing more specifically what is it like to intern in Prague? What sort of career fields would you expect there? What is the on-site experience going to be like? Then we'll move on to discuss program funding options. And then Sahar will jump back on and we will ask Sahar a few questions about her experience in Prague before opening it up to some Q&A. So the first overview of the program. So the GIP program in Prague will include an 8-week internship along with 10 weeks of online coursework. So the internship will take place in Prague from June 20th through August 15th. And then the online coursework follows summer session A10, so it's June 22nd through the 28th of August. Please note that once you're done with the on-site internship, you will still have coursework to complete, but since it's virtual, you can do that from Europe or from home, depending on how your travel plans go. But you will physically be in Prague for 8 weeks for the internship. Every student will be taking a mandatory 195 internship course and will have the option to include a CESC 130 intercultural communication in the global workplace course for a potential of 8 units total. I'll talk a little bit more about those courses in a second here. These are academic internships, so non-paid. You'll intern approximately 32 hours per week. And then there are some optional weekly lectures that you're able to attend if you're interested that ACC EDU will talk about a little bit later in the presentation. All right, so this specific program for Prague includes 5 academic tracks. So business and communication, engineering, global affairs, political science, and public affairs. The academic track really dictates what mandatory 195 internship course you will take. You will notice a little later in the presentation as we talk about the career fields that you might want to conduct the internship in, that there's a lot of overlap. So a poli-sci student and a public affairs student or a comm student might do a law internship. It's fine to be doing that in different academic tracks. But just note that, like a business and advertising is going to be probably a business and communications student, right? So depending on your career goals and how it matches with your academic track will kind of dictate how you want to enroll into the program. And we'll talk about the career sectors a little later in the presentation as we break that down with ECC EDU. So the coursework, again, as I mentioned, has a mandatory 195 course. That course is dictated by the academic track you're taking. So if you're taking political science, for instance, you'll be doing the Poli-Sci 195 CE course. If you're doing the business communications academic track, that would be the COM 195 course. So that one is mandatory. The optional CESC 130 course, that is open to any student, no matter the academic track, to enroll in. And that both courses are mostly asynchronous. If you're doing engineering, you will have a weekly discussion section for your 195 course. That's the only unique course that has like a synchronous time you always have to attend each week. But because Prague is later in terms of, the time of day, it's not too bad to do after work hours. And then the other 195 courses, you'll have biweekly meetings with your TA that you set up separately. The CSC 130 course, those are all pre-recorded lectures. So again, the course is pretty easy to do in conjunction with your internship. To see how those credits count towards your requirements for your academics, you'll want to go to our academics and eligibility tabs on the GIP Prague web pages, and that will show you, depending on your major, whether it applies to anything within the major. Talking about eligibility for the program, so you need to have a 3.0 GPA minimum, 90 units completed by spring 2026, and good academic standing. If you are a first-year student or a transfer student and do not have a UCLA GPA at time of application, that is okay. We do a grade check first week of January. So as long as you have a 3.0 after your fall term, you'll be okay. Same thing with 90 units. If you do not have 90 units at the start of fall term, that is okay. We just expect you to be able to feasibly get 90 units by the end of spring. So a good kind of like meter would be if you have 45 units going into fall, that would make it pretty easy to get 90 units by end of spring. We do accept AP and transfer units as well as a part of that 90. So, so if you do have a bunch of AP units, you're a first year student, it could still be possible to participate in the program. And the application is currently open now through November 24th. You can apply anytime during that period. However, and it's treated equally, so there's no advantage technically to applying earlier or later. However, one thing that I encourage students to do is if you do apply early, you're able to complete the multiple steps of the application process sooner, which will avoid you doing the second step, the application interview, during your 10th week, finals week, or vacation. So let's go into the placement process and timeline. So the placement process, what you first need to do is apply obviously to the program. So the application itself is going to include a biographical application as well as a statement of purpose and a resume. So the biographical application, very simple, straightforward. Statement of purpose, there is a sample of that on the program web pages under the Steps to Apply tab, or you will find the link to the sample as well on the application. It's a one-page document just expanding on your career goals, interests, why you want to particularly intern in Prague, what skills are you bringing to the internship, potential internship site, how does it connect with your future career goals, as well as an up-to-date resume that will be shared with potential, internship sites in the future. After you submit that by the 24th of November, on a rolling basis, you'll be then moved forward as long as you meet the minimum requirements for the program to complete an application interview with our on-site partners, ECC EDU. So that interview is about 30 minutes long. It will just kind of expand on your statement of purpose and why you're interested in the program and interning in Prague and why you're a great candidate. It's also an opportunity for you to discuss any questions that you do have about the program, whether it's on-site experience or internship questions, so that you yourself can make a decision if this is the right program for you. So after you complete the application interview, you will hear back in mid-January whether you've been accepted to the program. If you're accepted to the program, only at that point is there a financial commitment. So there's a $300 deposit due in mid-January if you are accepted. Prior to that, you can submit the application, complete the application interview, and there's no financial commitment. Mid-February is when we have the payment or financial aid deadline. So that's when you're financially committing to the program fully. And then in March is when the internship placement process begins. So that process is really unique with ECC EDU. So this program is a little bit unique, where the great part about that is they send you in March a full list of all the companies that have allotted spaces for UCLA students already for the summer. It's up to you to select which ones you would like to apply to specifically. You'll write a short summary of why you're interested in that particular company. And then if they select you for an interview, you'll go through the interview process. If you're selected by the company and you also like the company, you'll be matched. If it's not a match, or if you're not selected for particular interviews, you'll continue the process until you are placed. ACC EDU's role is to ensure that every student has a placement before departure. So even if you're struggling with that placement process, just note that they will work with you more individually as it gets closer to the departure date to ensure that you do have an internship placement in a career field that's relevant to you. And with that being said, I'm now going to move over to the exciting part of the presentation, which is to throw it over to our partners from ECC EDU to talk a little bit about Prague and the experience and internship opportunities.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. I guess we can move on to the next slide, and I will be first introducing the team. This is the team that will be interviewing you guys. So we really look forward to the discussions. So my colleagues and myself, I can be talking about Prague for hours. It's my hometown. I'm totally biased. So whatever you hear, I hope it will make you excited because I decided to live in this city. I moved here for my university studies and never left. And I can see that I'm joined by Anna Clara here, and also I saw Monica join from the other info session, so they can also share their experience living, working, and visiting Prague. So I'm going to be talking over the video, which I hope will get you excited. So Andrew, if I can ask you to move to the next slide. Prague, a city smack in the middle of Europe. It doesn't get better than this. From Prague, you can travel to locations easily by bus, by train, by plane. Let it be Berlin, let it be Munich, let it be Vienna, etc., etc. You can explore, you can enjoy Europe, you can enjoy the city. The video is breaking up a little. I hope it's okay. But now I'm going to focus on Prague. History, culture, art, food, drinks, bars, everything. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share this with you, but we have the best and the cheapest beer in the world. So really the right choice you are making. You can explore for hours. You will be here for 8 weeks. You can choose what you want to do. There will be organized activities as well as unplanned. You will have a blast. It's the party capital of Central and Eastern Europe. Every day you can choose and do something different. It's very affordable. It's a walkable city. That's one of the things I love about Prague the most. I've never had a car. I don't need it. I just move around using public transportation, which is safe, user-friendly, inexpensive, and gets you everywhere. You can see it really, Prague and some of the castles in the city and outside have been an inspiration for Walt Disney, for example. So it's really picturesque, gorgeous. In the summer, great weather, really comfortable, sometimes a little bit hot, but in general, very pleasant for you to explore, to grab a beer with your colleagues at the internship company, sit somewhere, chat, get to know our unique culture with our weird sense of humor. You will definitely enjoy it. We've been organizing internship programs here in the city for 10 years with UCLA for the past several. I have not heard a student complain about the city and the culture you get to explore here. But I know we don't have as much time, so I'm going to actually ask Andrew if we can move on to the next slide, which shows you all the career sectors that we are going to offer for summer 2026. There is so much information and a lot more is included on the website. So there you can see what each of the sectors offers, what types of organizations you can intern at. I actually chose an example of government agencies. So if you are interested in learning how the local government works here in the context of European Union, for example, you can select from those governmental agencies that we have close connections with. And we can provide you with examples. More can be found on the website. So if you have a specific area or the program, you will be able to see the type of organizations. And then, of course, specific examples of companies where UCLA students interned in the past and that we have in our network. The list is endless, and I encourage you to prepare questions for the interview because that's going to be a great opportunity for you to ask about all the details before you make a decision. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, so Andrew, feel free to jump in. But I hope I've covered the most essential things that you need to know about Prague before you actually decide to come here and spend the summer with us.
As Yana was mentioning, so we do have on our webpage a sample internship placements tab. It kind of breaks down a little bit more of the opportunities that would be relevant for you depending on the academic track that you're enrolling through. We do have a sample internship guide. Please note that this guide just has a few examples of what past students have done. It is not an exhaustive list. We've had, hundreds of students who have actually participated in this program over the years that we have been conducting, this relationship in Prague with ECC EDU. So these are just a few examples. We have probably about 10 or so that we show. But again, during that advising or the application interview, you're able to expand on any questions that you might have. If you have a particular niche that you're unsure if it's going to be met, or if you're, just want to ensure that the area that you're interested in is robust. Obviously, the internship placement does not happen until the spring, but the idea is that anyone who is accepted to the global internship program, we do guarantee an internship placement, and ECC EDU will be working to ensure that you find something that is relevant to your career goals and interests. All right, so now we'll move along to housing.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. So on this slide, you can see the type of accommodation that we plan to use for your program, just like the previous UCLA groups we've had in Prague before. So we always select centrally located. Well, here in Prague, everything is centrally located because, the city is not that big. It's about 1.3 million people. The commute time to internships is typically between 30 to 60 minutes. I would say about 30 to 45 is more accurate. The student housing is safe, clean. Students share a room. There is a communal kitchen, shared bathrooms. The student housing facilities also provide amenities such as shared washing machine and dryer in the building. We look for locations which are comfortable, which are cozy, and which are convenient when it comes to, for example, restaurants, grocery stores, pharmacies, etc., etc. But as I mentioned, everything is fairly close in Prague. So cinemas, theaters, concert halls, shopping centers, movie theaters, tons of sports activities. So that will be nearby. Of course, we will share more details about the specific housing selected for the group closer to the time, so that you can explore, and we will be providing more details regarding the specifics of the selected one. And of course, during the 8 weeks, there will be scheduled cultural networking and social activities. We will inform you upfront so that you can meet with our speakers, with our partners, possibly with our team as well. So formal networking events so that you can expand your network, collect business cards, or connect with people through LinkedIn, for example. There will be social gatherings over a beer, over a glass of wine, with our other students who will be in Prague for our summer programs. We will also be happy to invite you to lectures which we organize for our summer programs taking place in July. You are more than welcome to join based on your preference and availability. And there will be also some cultural excursions scheduled, especially at the beginning of your program, so that you get to explore the history, culture together with us. Again, details will be provided closer to time, but we will be selecting the most famous, the most popular locations. Prague is a UNESCO protected heritage site, so really I can promise you a rich cultural experience.
Thank you, Yana. And so now we're going to we'll pivot a little bit to talk more about the program cost and funding. The program cost is posted to the cost and funding tab on each of the Prague pages. There will be a program fee, which includes any billed expenses to your Bruin bill, as well as estimated non-billable expenses. So you'll notice on your program cost and funding tab, there's a little I next to each item under the budget. If you click on the I, it says what's included. So for example, the program fee will include your tuition, it will include your housing accommodations, it will include the cultural activities, your airport transport when you arrive, things like that. So feel free to kind of explore a little little bit. The non-billable expenses are estimated costs. So you may, depending on your spending habits, spend more or less than this amount. These are just estimated costs of what it would be to live in Prague for those 2 months. Please note that we don't take into consideration if you want to travel outside of Prague for the summer. So those additional trips, which I know a lot of students do because you are, again, in the center of Europe, those are kind of additional things you'll want to budget for outside of what we have on our program costs and funding tab. But again, these are just estimates on the non-billable amounts, depending on how much you spend out or how much you cook in, how much your airfare costs when you purchase it. Now, in terms of paying for the program fee, we like to note that financial aid does travel with you. So if you use aid on campus, you're able to apply your financial aid to your global internship program. You will be applying for the next academic year FAFSA or DREAM Act applications. So make sure you complete those by the priority deadlines, which are usually March 1st or 2nd of the year. And you must be enrolled in 8 units to be eligible for financial aid. Financial aid will look at the total cost, billed and non-billed expenses to provide you a financial aid package. I like to be open and honest with students that in the summer, there is no Cal Grant offered, and so it is more loan heavy for the summer. That's why we always encourage students to always apply for scholarships. We have a lot of great scholarship opportunities. They really depend kind of on your program, your academic major, personal identities. So definitely explore our website, the scholarship opportunities. If you're a Pell Grant recipient, we also encourage you to apply for the Pell Grant or the Gilman International Scholarship. So any Pell Grant recipients are able to apply for the Gilman International Scholarship for up to $5,000 worth of funding. Our GIP alumni have been amazing, and we've had probably about a 30 to 40% success rate of those who apply to the scholarship receive it. One important note is that all of these scholarships posted here and on our website do not open until after the application has closed. So we will send out information about scholarships after the 24th of November. So to remind you of when those will open. Most open in January, but there's a few that do open in December. And then without further ado, I want to invite back Sahar to talk a little bit more about her time in Prague. So thank you so much, Sahar, for joining us today. Could you maybe give us a little information again about where you interned this summer and what sort of kind of projects that you were involved in while you were at your internship?
Yeah, sure. So I was a marketing intern in Prague, and the projects that I worked on were mostly the market expansion that my company was working on. They were expanding from Prague into the Netherlands. And so as an econ major and an English speaker, they used me as somebody to help them with content creation, go-to-market strategy, and things like that.
And what would you say now that you've had that experience, you've come back, you're at UCLA again, and you're considering kind of what you want to do in the future? What sort of skills do you think are transferable from that experience that you'll be able to use going forward in both your academic and or professional endeavors?
I would say that I definitely gained a lot of transferable skills, even now that I'm applying to places for next summer. I've realized that, with content creation, all of the marketing skills, strategy skills, and overall just a strong understanding of business and entrepreneurship, I would say that those skills have helped me to land a lot of interviews even now for next summer. So I would say that it's been really valuable and it's transformed my resume to say the least.
Awesome. That's great to hear, Sahar. What was your normal day like, would you say, day to day? So you're both doing academic coursework, you're also doing your internship, and you also, I'm sure, want to explore the city as well as surrounding parts of Europe and Czech Republic. So what was your kind of day to day or week to week experience like?
Day to day, I would say if it was a work day, so Monday through Thursday, I would wake up early, but take the tram to work, and then at 5, I would clock out from the office, and then usually meet up with friends to hang out or to go to a beer garden or to just relax or to do work. I also was a really big fan of coffee shops because in Prague there are so many of them. So my friends and I would go to our favorite cafes and to work on either internship work or classwork. And then on the weekends, it would be similar, but we would always try to explore the city or we would travel outside of the Czech Republic. I went to places like Germany, Monaco, south of France, Budapest. So yeah, it was something new every week.
Thank you for sharing, Zahar. And what would you say, lastly, is kind of one advice you give to a student who's considering the program now? So you were in their shoes a year ago, considering to apply. What is something you wish you would have known, or what kind of advice would you give to a student who's in that same position now?
Um, I would say I think when I was applying, I mean, I love to travel, but I didn't exactly know what to expect in terms of working abroad. Um, but I would say that it's been a very transformative experience for me. I would recommend people to look into the country that they're planning to intern in, to get familiar with the culture and the customs, which I know is information that you guys release to them eventually, anyways. But I would say just immerse yourself in the location that you're in and really make the most of the experience, whether that's through travel. Or other things, but and I would say also focus on building a network while you're there too, because it's given me really great connections and also really great friends.
Thank you, Zahar. And I think it's a really great point to end on, as you mentioned that you'll be part of a UCLA cohort, but so you're networking within your UCLA cohort outside of probably your major as well. You're also going to have on-site, folks in your job sites that you'll be meeting, your coworkers, your supervisors. So it's a great opportunity to, get a recommendation for the future, to stay connected. We have some students that will eventually decide to move to Europe in the future, and it can be, a great opportunity to have these connections there. So great to hear about your experience, Sahar. We'll have you stay on because in a second we'll have some Q&A. But before we go to Q&A, I wanted to mention that Sahar is one of our GIP ambassadors. We have additional ambassadors like Sahar for Prague. So if you're interested in speaking to Sahar or another one of our Prague ambassadors, just go to our website and you can actually connect with them directly for any questions that you have about the experience in Prague, whether it's the on-site experience, the internship experience, anything that you would like a peer's opinion on, and they'll be happy to connect with you on that. And then something to note as well is our GIP team is conducting some drop-in sessions. So if you are available on Monday from 3 to 4 or Thursday from 9 to 10, starting this will be starting the week of November 3rd. Feel free to drop in and we'll be able to help with any questions you have. Otherwise, you can also just email us directly. So myself and Anna Ariano are your advisors for the Prague program, depending on the academic track that you are enrolled in. So Anna is Business and Communications, Global Affairs, Poli-Sci, and I'd be the advisor for Engineering and Public Affairs. If you're not sure who to email us both, and we'll get you the answer that you need. But with that said, what I want to do is I'm going to stop the recording and then I'm going to open it up to any questions that students have.